Alec Baldwin is being sued by Halyna Hutchins' family over the shooting that led to her death. Here are the details. The family of cinematographer Halyna Hutchins has filed a wrongful death lawsuit against Alec Baldwin and others involved in the production of Rust, according to the New York Times. Allegations of corner cutting listed by the family's lawyers include failing to thoroughly check the firearm before use and failing to receive it directly from or in the presence of the production's armorer. Also listed were failure to keep all personnel a safe distance from the line of fire and failure to have the camera operated remotely when the firearm was aimed at or near the camera. Lawyers for Baldwin have previously attempted to dismiss a separate lawsuit, alleging he should have checked the gun was safe to handle on the basis he had been told it was cold, meaning it did not contain any live bullets. However, in a press conference cited by Yahoo, lawyers for Hutchins' family argued that he has significant portion of liability and countered his claim in an interview with ABC that he had not actually pulled the gun's trigger with an animation, published in full by Deadline, that stated a single-action revolver can only be fired by cocking the hammer and pulling the trigger. On the wider case, attorney Brian Panish said Hutchins' family is seeking substantial and fair compensation as her husband had lost his long-term wife, who was the love of his life, and his son has lost a mother. Baldwin's attorney, Aaron Dyer, meanwhile, said on Tuesday afternoon that any claim that Alec was reckless is entirely false. Here is our original animation on the topic, explaining some additional details about what happened. New details are emerging around the incident which saw Alec Baldwin accidentally shoot cinematographer Halyna Hutchins. Here's what we know so far. The .45 caliber Colt revolver that killed Halyna Hutchins on the set of Rust was not thoroughly checked, according to a new court filing cited by Reuters. Assistant Director David Halls said that when armorer Hannah Gutierrez showed him the firearm, he could only remember seeing 3 rounds and couldn't recall if she spun the drum before he told those on set that it was cold, in court documents taken to indicate it does not contain live rounds, and handed it to actor Alec Baldwin. Santa Fe Sheriff Adan Mendoza has since said a suspected live round killed Hutchins, despite armorer Gutierrez telling investigators no live ammo was ever kept on set. As investigators look to explain this, CNN notes that Gutierrez told investigators that while firearms were secured inside a van, ammo was left on a cart on the set, while The Wrap reports that the gun which killed Hutchins was used by crew members earlier that morning for live ammunition target practice. Additionally, the Los Angeles Times reports that Baldwin's stunt double previously fired 2 rounds accidentally, though the newspaper did not specify if these were live or blanks, while the BBC notes the assistant director had been fired from a previous job after another incident with a prop gun unexpectedly discharging. The Los Angeles Times reports that crew members had walked off set over issues with working conditions. There were no safety meetings. There was no assurance that it wouldn't happen again. All they wanted to do was rush, one crew member said. As investigations continue, the incident joins the most famous death caused by a prop gun, that of actor Brandon Lee, who was killed while filming a scene in which his co-star fired a blank cartridge at him. There, the film crew had made a mistake by not double-checking the gun's barrel before loading it with a blank cartridge. Actor Alec Baldwin recently fired a gun loaded with blank cartridges on a movie set, killing one and injuring another. Here are the ways in which blank cartridges can kill you. The BBC reports that actor Alec Baldwin fired a dummy gun on a film set on Thursday, October 21st, killing the director of photography and injuring the director. Initial reports indicate that this was an accident caused by an improperly loaded prop gun. The most famous death caused by a prop gun was that of actor Brandon Lee, who was killed while filming a scene in which his co-star fired a blank cartridge at him. The film crew had made a mistake by not double-checking the gun's barrel before loading it with a blank cartridge. If they had checked, they would have found that the tip of a dummy bullet had broken off and was still stuck in the barrel of the gun. A dummy bullet is a fake cartridge that is used to simulate a real bullet during filming. When Lee's co-star fired the gun at him, the exploding gases of the blank cartridge propelled the forgotten fragment of the dummy bullet forward, hitting Lee and lodging in his spine. Another way in which blank cartridges can kill is if the gun is held too close to a person when it is fired, resulting in the force of escaping gases breaking off a piece of skull or bone and pushing that fragment into a vital organ. It's also possible that a fragment of the blank cartridge's metal casing can break off and exit the gun's muzzle at high velocity. The paper or wax that keeps the gunpowder in place will also shoot out at high velocity. Another risk is that residue from previous blank cartridges can build up in the gun's barrel. If the gun is not cleaned properly, this residue can build up to a significant size, causing the gas explosion to become more violent and propelling the hard residue at fatal velocities. The bottom line is that one should never shoot a blank cartridge from a short distance and never aim at someone's eyes or head. The initial characterization of Bob Saget's death does not match with the findings of an autopsy report. Here are the new details. Comedian Bob Saget died after a fall fractured his skull in several places, according to an autopsy report by the chief medical examiner of Orange and Osceola counties in Florida, and according to experts cited by the New York Times. The extent of these fractures complicates initial descriptions of Saget's death, in which it was suggested he may have hit his head, thought nothing of it, and went to sleep. The basis for this conclusion is that it would be unusual for even a typical fall to cause fractures to the back, right side, and front of the skull, such as those suffered by Saget, with the chair in neurosurgery at Houston Methodist instead comparing the injuries to those found on someone hit with a baseball bat or someone who has fallen from 20 or 30 feet. The proposed impact ruptured veins in the space between the membrane covering the brain and the brain itself, causing blood to pool, and experts cited by the New York Times concluded it was unlikely that Saget would have intentionally ignored this. Rather, it would likely have left him confused or unconscious. It remains unclear, though, how exactly such a significant fall could have taken place. According to the autopsy, no alcohol or illegal drugs were found in Saget, though there was evidence of clonazepam, a drug used to avoid seizures and treat panic attacks, and trazodone, an antidepressant. The autopsy findings did not show any indication that these were a contributing factor to Saget's death, but doctors cited by the Times said that these could make people sleepy and contribute to a fall. Saget was also found to have an enlarged heart, but this was also not linked to his death in the autopsy report, and neither was the fact that he tested positive for coronavirus.
For more news animations and explainers, hit the subscribe and bell button to join the TomoNews family. Thanks for watching.